oftentimes you don't have to be the smartest guy in the room so much as you have to be smart enough to understand that you have to surround yourself with smart, capable people and good tools. Surrounding myself with people who are capable, knowledgeable, and excited, and bring a different perspective. And that's how we got here to where you and I are sitting here today.
Welcome back to another episode of the Cost of Doing Business podcast. We are here just northeast of Indianapolis Central, eh?
Yes, northeast side of Indianapolis.
Yep, okay. My son Chase and I on a road trip, visiting a bunch of SynkedUP customers and doing these podcast episodes. So thanks a lot, Chris, for making the time.
Oh, thank you.
You are a busy man right now.
Certainly try.
Yeah. Well, why don't you give everybody kind of a rundown of, introduce yourself, your company, what your team looks like, what kind of services you provide, that kind of thing.
My name is Christopher Huser. For 30 years, I've had some iteration of the current name, which is Huser's Outdoor Design and Build. We primarily, in the old days, focused on mowing, maintenance, and mulch. Sort of, as I used to joke and say, the 3 M's. Because that was something that I could easily hire for and something that everybody had an immediate need for. It didn't require a salesman. Didn't require much in the way of software. It didn't require much in the way of tools even. And it was obviously the basic entry level into the landscape business. Now, to back up a bit, I had worked for a well-known landscaper here in Indianapolis for a few years, and he worked with a lot of high-end people. He didn't do any mowing, but he taught me the basics, the very good foundational basics of pruning properly, mulch application, plant installation, and things like that. And I knew at that point I had a real desire and interest to work in this field. As time marched on, we parted ways. I started doing my own thing, and as time has progressed, and I would say in part due to 3 things. One, me, who is out there doing the work day in and day out, started getting a little tired. 2, I wanted something a little more challenging. And 3, it seemed to be, while I'm not a landscape industry market analyst by any means, it did seem that the industry had been moving, some might say well before I recognized it, into doing a lot more hardscape than what had been the case when I first got in the industry in the early 90s. I often attribute that to home improvement shows and things like that, maybe even some better advertising of hardscape manufacturers. So fast forward to about 10, 12 years ago, we started getting more and more calls about hardscape. And most of the hardscape at the time was actually repairing hardscape projects that were done by somebody else who didn't really know what they were doing or didn't know how to do it very well. Then we started picking up our own jobs. And so, of course, what that means is that from that time of 20, 25 years ago, where I'm out there primarily doing the work with a group of guys, I've only got so much time. And if I'm being honest, while I think that oftentimes I'm the best at whatever it is I do, I know to grow, I can't be the best. In order for us to be what I'm hoping this ultimately is, I've got to have people like my sales design gal, Wan Chi, who knows her job better than I do. I've got to have people like Alex out in the field doing, leading the show better than I can, and all these other facets in place. In addition to that, I know that as time marches on, we have to have obviously the tools and equipment. You have to have obviously the customers, but then there has to be a way on the back end. When things were small, it was easy to track. It was easy to say, okay, this is our expenses, and this is our income, and this is how we made money on this job, and da 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 da. As time marches on to where we're 10 employees now, relatively small compared to a lot of otherwise players in this region. When we go head to head with some of those, we're typically the smaller or smallest of our competitors. But what I realized, have been realizing, and have been really, again, if I'm being honest, I was failing at, was being able to understand and capture all of our costs as it lines up to our income. And that's where you guys come in. Juan Chi and Alex had ran into you guys at the North American Hardscape show in Louisville. And while I knew that this needed to be done. I knew that we need to have part of the tools of the trade as a guy marches on it, if a guy is serious, is just this type of service that you provide. So knowing all that, it made sense that here this spring, when it was fairly imminent that we were going to get our new shop, which is where we're at now. Which, as you know, starts representing more overhead and everything. As one of your, as your guy who we spoke with, Chris Cooper, was talking to us about how we have to, there's places where we can plug in all these different, cost arrangements, whether it's trailers or utilities or mortgages or whatever the case may be. A software system such as SynkedUP was really sort of a foregone conclusion. So that's how kind of we came to where we're at right now, and how we came to where we are with you guys. And while we've in the scope of the lifetime of the business, SynkedUP, we're really a new player. It has shown us some immediate benefits with, for instance, me. With estimation. One of the tricks is to try to input the inputs, and that takes time. Learning the software takes time. If I'm, again, being honest, one of the factors in sort of our, as a company's limitation on growth is my limitation on my desire and willingness to adapt to and understand new technology. Oftentimes I think, pen and paper is going to be okay, and with a little tin key.
I see a smart level over here. That's not a,
I'm not saying I know how to use it, but I do own one. So as long as Alex and the guys know how to use it. So
there you go. Now that's the key.
So as you know, oftentimes you don't have to be the smartest guy in the room so much as you have to be smart enough to understand that you have to surround yourself with smart, capable people, and good tools. And so one of the things there used to be that old saying, there's a sales, maybe it's a hardware store or whatever, the right tool for the right job back long ago. Well, again, that's where, in order for us to capture, as time marches on and we're doing more business and hopefully doing more grandiose jobs that are perhaps, certainly for the guys, more exciting to do. And that's one of the things is, I know, talking to so many people, one of the things that is sort of a unpaid benefit, if you will, is having jobs that allow a guy to, develop himself professionally, causes him to think a little bit like, how are we going to tackle this project? We've not done this before, or this is similar but different, and it's going to cause us to, this is going to be truly custom. That's one of our customers, our long-time customers, always jokes that whenever we bring that word out, that means dollars, dollar bills, custom. Oh, this is another custom job. So, but
not entirely wrong.
Not entirely wrong. Not 100% true, but not entirely wrong. So, one of the things that, again, as time has marched on, is I've realized that surrounding myself with people who are capable, knowledgeable, and excited, and bring a different perspective, and that's how we got here to where you and I are sitting here today, as well as some other software stuff that we use as a whole. I don't use it myself all that much because of a lot of limitations that I have with technology, but also too with my focus on other aspects of the business.
Sure. What is your bread and butter typical project that your crew is really good at and you make money at?
I would say that we kind of bill ourselves as a landscape maintenance and hardscape business, not necessarily in that order. It used to be, up until 6 or 7 years ago, certainly before COVID, we were sort of a third, a third, and a third of those three avenues. COVID obviously skewed things in the short term and made maintenance sort of the part that is the least of the other three, of the other two, of the three. So now I'd say really, if you, as you said, what's your bread and butter? I'd say it's a patio.
Yeah.
It's a hardscape patio. Usually, even though we're in central Indiana and it's a pretty flat grade, we typically, we're in somebody's backyard where there's, some fall, so we're having to build up and have, correct the grade issue a little bit, build a little bit on the back end, maybe retain a little bit on the front end. More often than not, a seated wall and maybe a fire feature is part of that.
It's like a nice little outdoor living area. Yeah.
So as time marches on, all my contemporaries in the business have joked that the landscape business they got into 30 years ago or so is not the landscape business that is today.
Yeah.
That it's really become more of outdoor construction or outdoor living space, however you want to label it.
Yep, that's right. And so basically you have become more majority outdoor living as opposed to the maintenance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, not that we're opposed to maintenance, but the idea is that what we do very well, so much so that I'd say that without sounding like I'm being boastful and braggadocious, I would say that what we do well is just what I described our bread and butter, a patio with a retaining wall, changing a grade maybe here and there, and we can do that as well as anyone.
Sure.
As you know, the trick is moving, is always juggling the amount of time that you've estimated for a job, and that's where, again,
that is key.
That is key, and that's where the software has helped us sort of capture that faster, better, and as we were talking about minutes before we sat down, we probably don't use, well, I know we don't use all the features to their fullest capacity.
Which you've only started, what, 2 months ago, right?
Yeah, two and a half, sometimes, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, it takes time. And I always encourage people to take things, like, don't feel undue pressure, like focus on problem solving things in your business that you perceive to be the most important. And obviously you're talking about the budgeting, the estimating, which is great. That's often very much so the first rung of the ladder and the second rung of the ladder that people get under their belt signing on with SynkedUP. After that, it's like rolling out the timekeeping portion for the crew so that you get the real-time estimated versus actual. And that's when it really starts becoming powerful, because you start being like, hey, you know what, that job we did 6 months ago, I have no idea in my memory, other than maybe it felt like it took long, but let me go back and look, and you start building a data bank of things that really help you create your future estimates much more accurate.
Yes, and so that's what, certainly, that's what we're hoping to do. We're hoping that as time marches on, between the new facility, continuing to hire good people, having this software, that we're able to capture expenses, grow the business, have this place be not just a destination for our current customers and future customers, but also for employees. So that we're able to provide good benefits, good work environment, and have the good tools and the fun jobs that people that draws quality employees in.
Good processes keep people. How many years have you been in business?
29. This is our 29th season. Yeah.
I would have been. I'd have been walking.
Well, there's been times there's been times early on that when it's funny, because I've had this conversation numerous times with my crews, that at different times my expectations were different. You know, when my kids were littler, when they were little, they're grown adults now. But when they were little, I didn't quite have the time, and I didn't maybe have the confidence to have the like to chase things like hardscape jobs, and I didn't quite maybe have the knowledge to to bid those jobs, and I surely didn't have the the fortitude to hire a dedicated salesman to go out and do all this stuff, and so all these things between that. A sales vehicle. I mean, as silly as that may sound, that's a big step for a lot of guys. It certainly was free, and it was probably even a bigger hurdle, if I'm being honest, in my mind.
Yeah, right.
It's kind of like, like as I mentioned, going back from just having a simple, on a piece of paper, figuring it out. How much money do we make on the job? Do we make money? And then just sort of self-adjusting there. This way, we're going to have it in the future, captured online, in the computer, in the software, and so we'll be able to, more speedily go back and check, especially if we end up having, a semi-duplicate job. No sense. At that point, we don't have to reinvent the wheel any longer.
That's
it's
the point.
already in there.
That's the point.
And so there's a lot of things that, as time marches on, I think we're going to be grateful for.
Yeah. So in your whole business journey, like what would you say was the most difficult challenge you've encountered or overcame?
That's a tough one. I would say, it's funny because 6 months ago, the answer would be different than what it is today. Today it was gathering up all the money to put down the down payment on a commercial piece of property. That was one of the things, oftentimes a guy does is compare himself to his peers. And at different times, I think we do things better than some of our competitors who we're on friendly terms with and trade information. Then at other times, not as much. So it's hard to sometimes gauge because it feels like we're otherwise living in a vacuum, but getting a place of our own has been the biggest.
It'll be amazing.
And it's given our guys a sense of pride. Even though the property we're at, nobody can see. Maybe it's been a little distressed for a while, so we're spending a lot of time and energy beyond doing our day-to-day work. Trying to get this place to a functioning place where we can operate out of and not be embarrassed to have anybody over. And so, and things will improve over time for sure, I have no doubt. But with that, of course, comes, expenses. And some of those expenses we know, some of them are known and some of them are unknown. They'll reveal themselves over time, but so being able to capture that is important.
What was your works like? Where did you work out of before you did get this building?
So we did a combination of things between many years ago, working on my garage. That worked for a while until the neighbors got a little upset and called the authorities.
Never.
I know several people in the zoning world now that I was hoping to never have known before. Never make their acquaintance. And then we rented, and then we'd always do that in conjunction with renting storage unit space. And then we just, at that point, transitioned to strictly storage unit space. Well, on the front end wasn't too terribly bad. It had limited hours, the places we were at. We were at two different places at two different times. Limited space, it just became expensive. We were contacted after years of doing that by a gentleman who had sort of a workshop co-op place, for lack of a better term. And for the last year or so, we've been renting space from him. That has its own challenges. Not only are you working, you have your own space, but you're sharing everything outdoors with other people, not necessarily in landscape, but other agencies. There's one entry point, one exit point. It was very cramped, and what it didn't allow us is any room for growth. At the time, the funny thing is, as one might imagine, as we grow, especially outside my garage, everything starts costing more, like just the place to house your stuff.
Yep.
And so at the last place we were, the trick became we could not, we were limited on the amount of employees we could have because we didn't have any place for other employees to park. We were limited on equipment we could buy because we'd already maxed out the space that we were renting for having either another trailer, another truck, a bobcat, whatever the case may be. And so and of course, one of the things we are hoping to do at the new place is have our own bins for mulch, stone.
Yeah, that makes such a big difference. Fuel.
Fuel.
It makes such a big difference if you can prevent your guys from needing to make pit stops on the way to the job site. That is tremendous.
Yes.
Or even minimize the deliveries, the logistics, you know?
We've been, so as we get set up here at the new facility, that's been, of course, there's a million things, especially with the distressed property. It's also depressed.
It's looking pretty good. I can tell you're putting some work into it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Once there's a lot of initial startup costs just to get to where, like in your mind, where you think you should be. And so trying to pace those with, the income is in that
cash flow.
That's a bit of a trick in itself.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. You're 100% right when it comes to this notion of minimizing, as my old landscape boss would say, windshield time.
Yep.
Windshield time for your guys. Minimizing the pit stops at the, the gas stations where, we're buying snacks. Now we're doing whatever, getting scratch offs. So, that's our idea, is that we are running,
and that's what having a shop like this helps you do. Even even just like whatever, like irrigation supplies or fittings or whatever, like have them here so you don't have to go to Lowe's or Home Depot. It just makes such a tremendous difference.
Oh, for sure. I agree.
And so switching gears a little bit, what is the best advice you've ever gotten?
The best advice I've received with regards to, I presume you mean with regards to the landscape industry. I heard a guy recently, this is probably not the best, but it's probably top 5. And it's the one that I can think of right now. He said, hire well, train hard, and manage easy. I thought to myself, and the guy who gave me that advice is in the restaurant business. And I guess you could say the hospitality business as it's expanded. But he's very successful, he's well known around town. But that makes perfect sense, because one of the things that, for instance, as I mentioned, our salesman and designer Wan Chi and Alex, our foreman, Wan Chi has been very good at reiterating. She always says, we need to be training better. We ought to, so-and-so doesn't know how to prune properly. And we've always identified that as a problem, but so many times we're running around like chickens with our heads cut off, because one of the most challenging things in central Indiana is going to be, of course, the weather. We're not, we're in southern United States, where you're going to have milder winters, and things can be, the customer base's expectations are of, winter weather work is a little different than up here. We've got to oftentimes educate people that, hey, there's still things we can do in the winter. I mean, provided the ground's not deeply frozen, we can still continue to do, certain things. And so there's always those challenges. I know I just went down a rabbit hole there. I apologize for that, but that's always on the back burner, of what the guy's thinking about.
Yeah, I appreciate that though. Like sometimes you might feel like you need to manage harder. Like, I can even think of areas where I've been guilty of this, when really you hire well, train hard, and then manage easy. I I like
Yeah.
the sound of that. Like there's some wisdom. There's wisdom in that. You know.
I didn't come up with it after all. I mean, that's
What's that?
I did not come up with it. That's how wise it is. It would have came from me originally, but yeah. So a guy who I knew long ago in the business always said, I don't need to do anything original. I just need to steal
Yeah,
what
rob and
works."
duplicate. R&D.
Yeah, rob and duplicate. So that's just it. And so one of the things that hopefully as time marches on, we're able to do that better.
Yeah.
Hopefully, with software, we can see that, maybe I don't need to, manage hard and.
Yeah, if you have good systems, let the system just run.
Yeah.
Train the system.
That's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But that's the
Yeah.
goal, right? And so with those things in place, as time marches on, will allow. I mean, there's a reason phrases like "it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks."
Yeah.
There's a reason why those exist. But I do understand the importance, and certainly my desire, of having a well-educated work staff and people who. And we are very. We try to send people to class if they're willing to go to class and do their part on passing and then bringing that back to us and implementing what they've learned. We're very much into that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just heard this literally last week, about the hiring, the training,
sure.
and then the managing.
So if you go back to the beginning when you first started getting into business, what is one thing you do differently?
Something different entirely, a different industry. That's what I always joke about. My kids have no desire to work in this because they realize that this industry, and anybody who's out there doing this knows that it is work. But it is work that I enjoy.
Yeah, and there's meaning in it. It's beautiful. You're making things beautiful.
It does have meaning in it. One of the things we talk about here as a crew is that we're blessed. Let me back up and say we're blessed to have a lot of good clients. Some of them are repeat clients. Some are just one-off clients. But we've been fortunate enough, more often than not by far, to have good people to work for. And people who appreciate the work we do, they value the work we do, and they're very complimentary on the back end. And we always talk about how it's funny how the praise of doing a good job and how they appreciate, because this is essentially, we're taking somebody else's hard-earned money and transforming it into whatever their idea, along with, Juan Chi's idea, is how their backyard living or front yard, however their outdoor living experience should be. Mm-hmm. And when we have grateful people, that certainly makes it, certainly makes things very, very much worth it.
Yeah.
I guess if I had to answer your question, I was told this recently that if somebody says to you, follow your passion, this might get edited out, but they said this happens to be sort of my passion, it does. But if somebody says follow your passion, only rich people are telling you that. Follow your opportunity.
Yeah, I like that better.
And one of the things that I have, that we talk about all the time here is, where is the opportunity in this business? I mean, if we were so rigid that said we are only going to do this, the work that's in this box.
Because you box it into your path. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, that might be, again, that box, what's in that box might be.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is chasing the opportunity will give you the margin to then pursue your passion.
In a lot of ways.
And so I think where people sometimes get it, there's nothing wrong with saying chase your passion, but I think where people get it, their wires crossed from time to time, it's like, well, this is my predetermined, this is it, right? And it's the only thing I want to do. And in the meantime, you might have a really hard time cracking the nut on how to make a go of it,
Yeah.
So,
and we see that a lot. We're fortunate enough to have been in business nearly 30 years. There's some people that, and some companies much bigger than ours, with people who are better funded, better educated, whatever, that come and go.
Yeah.
So, what's all that mean?
Yeah.
Well, we talked about earlier, slow and steady wins a race, and we'd like to think we're not that slow, but we are steady, and we're trying to do our part on winning our portion of the race.
Yeah. Well, it's, sweep in front of your own door, keep your own house clean, and the rest will, that goes a long way.
Yeah, certainly.
So where can people you've got quite a journey ahead of you with it, kind of making this your home.
Yeah.
Where can people follow along and watch what your company's doing and get in touch and that kind of thing?
Well, they can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, of course. HUSERS_firefighters with an S, and then landscape. That's Instagram.
Yeah.
HUSERS, my last name with an S on the end, HUSERS, landscape.com is our website.
Okay.
Hopefully we're keeping that up to date, or updated pictures. And I think that's between that, Facebook, Instagram, and our website.
Yeah, that works.
Ones.
That works.
That's one of the things that on these various classes, like where we found out about you guys down in Louisville, where they talk about, we all know that the importance of social media and various reviews, how the importance over time those have become to businesses, especially small businesses in the landscape business, because in Indianapolis, this is really a saturated landscape market. The competition is high. All that good stuff, all those good vendors down in Louisville, such as yourself, hopefully we, take just enough here and there.
Yeah.
And
well, it's all about just solving the next problem, staying focused and climbing one more rung on the ladder. Sometimes we're tempted to think like, well, I need to go from rung number 1 to rung number 10 in one leap. But usually you're going to fall if you try that. So be slow and methodical. Like you said, slow and methodical wins the race.
If going back to your earlier question, this just popped into my head. I knew a guy when I was first out of college and interviewing for jobs that I thought I wanted but really didn't. He told me about his particular journey and in his business, and he said that. He talked about the need, he didn't realize this would be the case at first, but the need to enjoy the journey. And I think so many times we get all wound up about trying to get to the destination as fast as we can without actually enjoying the journey. There's been different times, of course, in this business where I've wanted to get to the destination faster than others, for sure. But as I get older, having time to enjoy the journey is really it's become super meaningful.
I think that's a very good takeaway. Like if there's one thing you go back and do differently, to remember to enjoy the journey, because in the thick of it, in the middle of it, what's top and center? The problem you're trying to solve, the issue that's in front of you, the customer that isn't happy, the employee, those are the things that just soak up all your brain energy.
Oh, yes.
And it's easy to forget. I mean, I really take that to heart. I really appreciate that. That's a really good thing. It's a really good reminder for me.
Certainly.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in that. It's easy to think that, between media and various things that, it's a bottom line, like, oh, it's a bottom line business and da-da-da. Well, there's always a lot of truth to that, but like so many things in life, having the understanding of enjoying the journey it helps with day-to-day management for me, with when things don't go right, like you're talking about, like all this problem solving. It seems like some days are spent just problem solving. We talk about this all the time, where we set a schedule. We set a schedule every week. Sometimes we set a schedule within the day, and then by an hour into the day, that schedule's completely gone. And you're like, how's this possible? We've been planning and planning and planning. So, but yes, and being resilient, doing all that sort of thing. And
well, Some good words of wisdom. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate you making the time. I mean, you got a million things to do, so thank you very much for making the time.
Certainly.
And
Thank you for coming out.
yeah, hope to treat you to some dinner tonight.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Chris.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate your trust and confidence in you.
Yeah.
And in us as in the product, and we're here to partner with you and make it a success and make it be the engine that grows your business. So.
I'm excited about that. Believe me. I'm excited about anything that's making the job easier on me.
Yeah. Take things off your plate. That's
I do believe in our short association, things have become much easier.
Good. And as long as that continues to happen, we're on track.
Very good.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
You betcha.